Okay, what is up, guys? It's fernwehvon, or Natasha here, and I'm here to talk to you guys about another book journey I'm about to go on. I usually read thrillers and horror books, sometimes fantasy and sometimes sci-fi, but I haven't really ventured past that, let alone into the romance sphere until I got into these two books right here. Oh. This one's a sapphic romance, and this one's like a heterosexual romance. And that's where I learned that I'm not only into romance. I thought I only could enjoy it with like magical elements to it or something else to distract me, but I really enjoyed the romance more than I enjoyed anything else. Especially in this one, the magic was like a cool add-on, but I really loved the characters and how they like learn to love each other and all that lovey-dovey stuff. And I've just been feeling really down recently. I've been in a really bad depression episode, so it's been hard to get myself to read, and I'm trying to read 3 books a month every month. And so this month I decided, why not, let's go on our romance journey. I know that I have Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I read the back of this, and it's pretty much about like this womanizer woman who's like all hot and really good with the women or whatever, ends up being the photographer for her sister's wedding, and during her sister's wedding she ends up talking to one of her sister's friends that she knew in her past but never really thought she'd be interested in, and then a romance blossoms between them. And that's all I really know about the book. And it was enough for me because I saw these cute characters and I was like, okay, I'm into both of them, so I think I'll like this. I heard that it is steamy, so we'll see how the steaminess goes. There was a little bit of steaminess in both of these books, and I seemed to like it. I did realize I wanted to read more sapphic romances though after I finished Paybacks, a Witch, so that's kind of the direction we're going with this video. So hopefully it goes well, and I'll check back in with you guys later to let you know how I'm liking it. So far I am 4 pages in. I literally just started, and I like the writing so far. It's really easy to read, and if I really like this, then hopefully we can have a whole journey on my romance tropes and stuff that I like. I'm not really sure what I like. I think I'm more of a rom-com person, so I'm kind of going for more of that comedy aspect to help with it. I know that with me, I don't really like a lot of like men in romance books. Like the romance books I have read, if I can't get into the male character, especially if they're really toxic, it kind of ruins it for me. So I'm hoping that this direction, I'm kind of wanting a more wholesome direction, so that's kind of where I'm going with this, but we'll see where it goes. I'll let you know, guys. I'll keep you guys updated if I could talk. Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Before I jump into that, I want to talk about the ranking of each book and a little bit of synopsis of the other 2 books that I mentioned in this video, just in case you might be interested in them. So the first one I read was The Ex-Hex. I ended up rating this one a 3-star. It wasn't my favorite book, as you can see by the tabs, but I did like the overall premise, and I loved how the magic system like kind of worked. Like it wasn't a complex magic system or anything very different from other magic systems. It just was interesting to read about, especially in the context of the book, which in the synopsis, this book is about this, it's like a second chance romance, and this person was with this man named Rye, who ends up breaking up with her for one reason or another, and she ends up hexing him in a joking kind of coping way, but then she thinks, oh, it didn't actually hex him because I wasn't like trying to, so he doesn't actually get hexed, and then later on she learns that he did get hexed and that she has to help him figure out how to get rid of this hex. And so they kind of go down a journey of figuring out how to get rid of this hex, and as they're doing that, they end up realizing that there might be a bit more chemistry than they thought was there before. And so that's that one. And I really enjoyed the magic in it and just the overall vibes. Like the small town vibes was very cute. I enjoyed the humor, like the banter that the two characters would have. I also enjoyed how the male character was written, because a lot of the time for me when I'm reading about a heterosexual romance, I can get very, very easily turned off by a lot of like the toxic depictions that some men in certain books will have. But this one, it felt like a very respectable relationship, and I enjoyed how they interacted with each other, and I didn't find myself cringing or like getting uncomfortable by how they were being treating to each other. So that's a plus for me, because a lot of like heterosexual romances that I have read in the past or have watched like rom-coms of in like TV shows or like movies, I like, that's the issue I have, is I can't really feel invested in the relationship because the guy or the woman will seem really toxic. Which, that's fun in its own realm. I just personally haven't found much enjoyment in relationships like that, but maybe I'm just not looking for the right things. With that said, let's move on to the next book, which is Paybacks, a Witch. As you can see, I enjoyed this one a tiny bit more, and because of that, Paybacks, a Witch is gonna get a 4-star from me. I really enjoyed the overall like conflict in the book. So the synopsis for this book is pretty much the main character and like the very attractive bisexual woman who she's never been able to talk to because she gets too nervous around her, and her best friend have all been with this one man who is part of the like most powerful witch family of the town. So this one also has small town vibes in my opinion, and I also felt like this one in particularly gave me Wizard of Waverly Place vibes. And it made mostly the movie Wizards of Waverly Place, where all the siblings are finally like going against each other to find out who gets to be the wizard for the rest of their lives. That was kind of the same breath that I got with this book, but there's like a bit of a twist in it that I won't spoil. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like really well done. I loved the magic system. I loved the challenges they did. I am a sucker for like gamified plots. Like if it's like a thriller book that's like they have to do a game to see who survives or something, top 100 or something like that. Or Squid Game is a good example. If it's like Squid Game vibes, I'm in. And this wasn't Squid Game, but like obviously it's a romance, so no one's like, you know, but they are competing to see who gets like more powers in the family like after they win. So it has a good plot point that has like things hanging on to it that I think were very productive for the storyline and moving it forward. So I really enjoyed it for that. And finally, we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and this is my favorite romance that I've read thus far, which is why I'm going to give it 5 stars. A nice little elevation. Also, if you want to see all the tabs together, here they are. And as you can see, I tabbed this one more than this one. Like, it's a little more condensed here, but I'm pretty sure this one has more tabs. At least they're more spread out. Sometimes my tabs are based on my moods, and sometimes I just won't tab as much, but I try to annotate every book I read because I think it's good. It's a good way to talk to the book as you're reading it, and also it just makes it better when you want to give it to a friend, because then they can see all the things that you wrote or tabbed while you were reading it, and that makes it like really fun to read. I think I love reading books that are annotated, so I just try to do that so that when I loan my friends my book, it's like they're reading it with me, and I just love that. I think it's so cute. But anyway, so this book I've already told you the summary of, but I really loved the characters. I finished this book, it's February 21st, so I finished this book about like 4 days ago. And the only thing I could think after is that I really want to read the rest of the books in the series, because I just loved like most of the characters in this series. And I thought that the character development of all of them was really well put together. I really loved how this plot line dealt with family trauma and the trauma of growing up in a small town, because I related to a lot of the stuff and the conversations that were being talked about here, and how like you just run from that and hope that it's going to be different the moment you leave that town. And a lot of the times it is different. Like every town has something else to provide for you, but like sometimes it might feel not quite as like nice as it should when you feel like you've escaped this awful thing that you've had to live through. And just having to learn to deal with the trauma that comes with not being accepted and being outcasted in a small town hit home for me. I am neurodivergent as well as part of the LGBTQ community. I'm also not religious, so that made it so when I was in a small town, like there were a lot of reasons why I didn't fit in with everyone else, in other words. And so just like the feeling of being outcasted and then finally getting away and then having to go back to that small town, and how like weird it feels now that you're not like a kid going to high school or something there. It just like, it just hit home. Like, oh, I also loved the multiple point of views in this book. So you get to hear from both point of views of Claire and Delilah. And I thought that was really wonderful, because I loved hearing how they were like falling in love and the fears that they have as they were falling, and like what they wanted to do with the relationship, where they wanted to go with these feelings that they were noticing that they were having. And I thought a lot of those were just like wonderful conversations to have. It just made me really excited to read the next book. And I know that they're coming out with like, I don't know if it's the final book, but I know there's like another book coming out this year. So I kind of want to read I think the next one is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail is what came out. And that one came out in the fall of 2022. So last year. And then this year, also in the fall, I believe it's in October that it's coming out. There's another one that's like called Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, I'm pretty sure is what it's called. And I am so down to hear about Iris's point of view. She was like one of my favorite characters. I loved how like snarky she was, and she was like often the comedic relief. And I feel like that is going to be something that's especially fun to read about in the next book. And also all of them seem to be sapphic romances, which is like exciting. I love like the exploring of sexuality in these books as well. But other than that, I really enjoyed all of the books. Surprisingly, of most favorite to least favorite is like the same order that I read them in. Least favorite being the bottom and the most being the top, which is so funny. That means we're getting closer and closer to the kind of romances that I like. With that finally said, and all of our stuff ranked, the last thing I wanted to say was I wanted to talk about the tropes in all of them that I really enjoyed, that I would love to have in other books. And in case you notice as I'm going through these tropes, if you think of a book that you think fits these tropes that I might like, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear your recommendations. But other than that, the tropes I seem to have really enjoyed was I saw Small Town was a trope that I liked. I really liked the sapphic romances, but I'm okay with reading something other than just a sapphic romance. Pretty much any LGBTQ romance I think I'm into. And then I really liked the witches trope in the other 2 books that I read. That was like really fun. I loved having a magic or like supernatural element to it. I also I like to hear about people's professions. Like, I don't want it to be all romance. Like, I want to hear about their passions and like how like they care about their job and what goes into like them doing that job and all that. So I'm gonna put that up there too. And then after that, I think the other trope that I really enjoyed, Grumpy Sunshine. I am a sucker for Grumpy Sunshine. Then I'm gonna put finally for another trope that I like. I think I might like wedding romances, like romances that happen in a bridal party or something. I don't know. I'm gonna put a question mark next to that one because I'm not too sure how much I like that, but it feels like something that I really enjoyed in Delilah Green. But again, was that just because of Delilah Green or like the romance that was going on, or do I like weddings? And I think I'm gonna put a question mark tentatively around that too, because I'm currently like mustering up the courage to plan my own wedding. So I feel like the reason I'm seeing an increase in enjoyment in like wedding content could be tied to that. But we're gonna put that there with a question mark, and then I might read more books along that. But then also currently I am reading The Song of Achilles, which I am about 100 pages in, and I'm loving it so far. I'm pretty sure it's gonna hurt my feelings soon. But so far it's very cute and I enjoy the characters. I don't know. I have not read the mythology of this prior, so I don't know if what's gonna happen is what I'm pretty much saying. Like, I'm reading this going in blind because I didn't want to do any research. I just knew that it was good, and I posted on my Instagram about what my next read should be, and that's what got voted on. So that's what I'm reading, which, by the way, if you want to be a part of those votes, go follow at fernwehvon on Instagram, and then you will see my polls, and then you can also vote on what I read next, which can help with these videos. But other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm coming to you every week on Friday with a new video, whether that's body doubling, book reading vlogs, or just any other normal vlog of my lifestyle as a person in this world. But I also want to start doing reading sprint streams too, so if you want to be part of that, go follow me on Twitch at fernwehvon as well. Once I get that schedule figured out, it will be posted there, and I will probably also post it on my Instagram. So if you're following that, you'll also get a link for it. Also, you might have seen in the bottom right over here, there's a last chapter cam. That is something new that I'm trying. I wanted to record my reactions as I finish a book with every book that I read. I wasn't able to do that with my 2 previous books because I wasn't recording those when I started reading them, but I think I'm going to start doing it in the future. So if you like it, please let me know in the comments. But other than that, I'll see you next time.